From the crossroads of the Ozarks, this is PID Radio. Welcome. I'm Derek Gilbert.
And that makes me Sharon Gilbert, and welcome to our home. We are not in the barn today as we did last week. We are recording in our dining room because of dogs.
Yeah, it will be this way for a while until we feel comfortable leaving the two of them alone for an extended period of time.
Yeah, we might be able to leave just her alone. We'll see. You may occasionally hear dogs sort of playing and growling in the background.
World Canine Wrestling Federation in the background.
It really is. Yeah. And you may notice that maybe I'm not as with it. I have not slept in 3 nights.
Well, it's been a long week in that regard. And excuse me, Glory, we don't bite.
We don't bite.
Yeah, she gave me a kiss first just to say, okay,
yeah, I know.
Here, I love you.
Don't bite.
Anyway, yeah, the puppy is now 11 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are still working on the training aspect.
We're going to be at this for a little bit of while. And it would be fine with me today if I had had some sleep, but that's par for the course.
Yeah. Well, Grace says, I'll show you how.
Yeah.
Glory, rather. When she gets ready for nap time, she crashes and crashes hard, but she does like to snug in with a human.
She does. And I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, being a puppy mom is kind of tough, but it's worth it.
It is. And
no, she's just crashed by the door.
Okay. Well, good. Those moments where she gets real snuggly and very loving and,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, aren't I cute? That's like God's design function to keep puppies from so frustrating their humans that the humans do unkind things.
Oh, gosh.
So
seriously, I know all of you folks out there who have pets, especially those who have raised a young one. You understand.
Mm-hmm.
And those of you who are parents to human children, you totally understand that it can be really frustrating. But there are times, you've got to text. Times like this, I stop and I think, okay, I'm really, really tired. I'm starting to feel a little bit frustrated. Hold on. How did the Lord feel when Adam just almost within weeks maybe turned around and did the very thing he was told not to do? You can do everything else.
Yeah.
Just don't do this one
Don't
thing.
do this one thing. No, that's exactly right. I think there's a good object lesson here for us,
Mm-hmm.
because the difference between us and a puppy is still a lot less than the distance between us and God.
Yes.
And the Lord creating us for his own pleasure, looking down on us and saying, oh, you can understand why Jesus said to the apostles over and over again, how long will I have to put up with you? Because,
or the Apostle Paul, you
foolish Galatians.
Yeah.
So we get it. But like I said, those moments where the puppy just goes, oh, you're the best mom ever.
And suddenly you're thinking, I guess I won't, rehome you.
What problems? We completely forgot about the mess in the hallway carpet.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
right now, she's about, for those of you who want an update on Morning Glory, if you didn't listen last week or you have not been following our posts on Facebook, we've had a big week. And part of that is because a week ago, we adopted a rescue puppy.
Mm-hmm.
As Derek said, she's 11 weeks old today. We're not really sure what she is, border collie cross of some kind, either with maybe a boxer
Mm-hmm.
or a Labrador, maybe a little pit thrown in, pity. They're all beautiful breeds and intelligent, so highly intelligent. So she's learning quickly, but she's still not there. She won't be for a while because she doesn't have total control over her actions.
Yeah.
There are certain bowel movements, etc., that she can't go, I better wait until mom's in the room and she can let me outside.
Yeah. And then there are times like, last night she and Grace had been outside for a while, 15, 20 minutes, came back in and immediately made a beeline for the carpeting in
Of course.
the hallway. Like,
I know. And you're thinking,
okay.
All
right. Yeah.
But then you look back, it's only been a week.
It's only been a week.
Yeah. So the Lord is good. She's getting there. She's learning some things and she's cute as a button.
Yep.
So, and I asked on Facebook
Mm-hmm.
what kind of coffee people would like for Morning Glory coffee. Because with Kevlar Joe, we have a number of types of coffee through Gilbert House. And I think at least half, if not more, of the people selected cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon roll?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I used to bake cinnamon rolls all the time with my mom's recipe.
Best cinnamon rolls ever.
So moist, so delicious. My mother's recipe. And I haven't baked them in a long time because I really do try to avoid things like that
Which
these
is why
days.
between the two of us, we now weigh about 170 pounds less than we used to.
Oh, yeah, I'm half the person I used to be. Ah,
You know, it's interesting. I can actually hear the difference when I go back and listen to the old podcasts, the difference in the resonance, really for both of us.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you especially, it's very, very noticeable.
It's so noticeable. Of course, I'm getting older, but having sung opera back in the day, and you barbershop,
Mhm.
um, your body is your resonance chamber.
Right.
And it's one reason that opera singers who have some size, they don't want to change their bodies. Many opera singers don't want to change the conformation of their mouths. So they may not want to, the whole trend now is to get, veneers and have perfect
yeah.
smiles and this and that. But a singer, a professional singer is going to look at that and go, no, I'm going to change my resonance.
We've seen that with some very prominent singers over the last 40, 50 years. For example, Barbara Streisand, who was asked about, getting a nose job, and she said no.
No.
Freddie Mercury,
Freddie
lead singer
Mercury.
of Queen, who
Yes.
could have gotten his teeth fixed, and he
Yeah,
refused
he
to do
said,
it.
no, it's
Yeah.
part of my instrument.
Right.
Pavarotti, after he lost weight, he still sang extremely well,
hmm
but didn't have that same resonance.
Yeah. Well, so
So,
it
yeah.
is. It is a real thing, and but we are happier being healthier. That is a fact.
I could never have made it through this week if I had not lost the weight and gotten healthier. Because on Thursday, you and I sat on the panel with Skywatch TV 4 programs.
Mhm.
And yesterday, we recorded 2 programs down at Morningside.
Right. Jim Baker show, hosted by Ricky Baker now.
Oh, yeah,
Jim
he
taking
did
some time
a
away.
great
Yes,
job.
yes, that young man has done an amazing thing. And
Hi, Ricky. We love you.
we talked a little bit with Mondo de la Vega, who was there for the second program, and
We
he's got
love
a
him
brand new
too.
book out, and he'll be a guest on A View from the Bunker next Sunday night, first Sunday in March,
His
about his new
story.
book. Yeah, My
Both of
Crazy
them.
Life.
Ricky's story, too. He needs to write a
Well,
book.
Ricky and Marcella, that is.
I know. I
Well,
know.
all of them. Little Lori Baker, Lori Crable now. So yes, the fact that Jim and Lori rescued them from a life of poverty, which probably would have led to gangs, well, and Mondo, coming out of the world of gangs.
And I'm sure it was many a sleepless night for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the legacy of Jim and Lori Baker, the children that they have raised up.
Marie.
Adopted Marie and raised up. So when we are there, and it struck me as we were talking yesterday on the panel about Mondo's book and his incredible story as a gangster coming out of Los Angeles, being radically saved, and his sister played a large role in that. But when you read his story, his background in Guatemala and the family situation there,
it's a miracle
yes,
he's
it's a miracle that
alive.
he's alive, because when you're in a gang in a city like New York, Chicago, LA, you don't expect to live past about 18 or 20.
No father figure.
And no father figure, which plays a large role in this. And again, that's in Mondo's book. You can read about that. But
His book's out now, by the way. You don't have to pre-order it
right.
anymore.
It is now. The physical copies are now out, and you will find his story just really jaw-dropping, that you can go from the situation that he went through as a child, with the split of his family at the age of 6, moving to Los Angeles, living in poverty there, mother having to work 2, 3 jobs to try to keep them a roof over their head. But that, of course, means that she didn't have the time to be there physically for Mondo and his sister, who she avoided the whole gangster life.
Yeah.
Mondo didn't. But that's miraculous enough. But then it just struck me as we're sitting on the panel looking at your background from rural Southern Indiana.
Parents from Appalachia.
Parents from Appalachia. My background growing up in Chicago, but all I knew from gangs was the spray painted names on the walls. Vice lords, disciples, Latin kings. I was the nerd, the smart kid with glasses, the fat kid with glasses, who was.
You
I
were
was not
never
exactly
fat.
gang
You just
material.
felt like you were.
I was chunky. I was chubby.
But you
My jeans came from the husky section at Sears.
yeah, but you know what? Seriously, the husky section now would be considered a normal size.
Normal sized, yeah. So the fact that all of us from such diverse backgrounds were sitting together on that panel for the same purpose, which is to raise up and glorify Jesus Christ, that is also miraculous.
And Zachary Drew, who was
Zach Drew,
joining us
right.
Via Skype. It was an incredible gathering. We were so glad. Our friend Lynn Shepard came. She drove down, and she also brought Irene.
Right.
Yep. So we have a wonderful little neighborhood around here. And one of the stories I want to talk about today is that there is a rise in what's called friendship apps. For those who don't have anyone to talk to, any friend, mental health experts are saying they should reach out to virtual friends via friendship apps. Now, I don't know if all of these apps literally connect you with someone else. Forgive me, I'm so tired. It's making sounds is a struggle, so I'm really trying. But I don't know if it's always connecting you with someone else. Well, you and I met online. We started out just as friends and ended up getting married. But or is this a virtual friendship that you are beginning? And is it the fulfillment of the movie Her? I know, and the fact that mental health experts, some of them are recommending apps like this. I think they're dangerous.
They can
I can understand
yeah.
people who are lonely, but there's such a danger in that kind of thing, which brings me back to the idea of being an analog space with another human being. So the fact that we've got these friends locally that we can get together with, it means a lot to Derek and me, even though we like sort of our space. We need that one-on-one, that human touch, those physical hugs, the smiles of affirmation, knowing someone else understands.
Yeah. One of the stories that came up that illustrates the danger in trying to substitute virtual friendship for real friendship. And in some cases, that's not really an option for folks. I mean, if you're limited with mobility, or if you're living in an area where there just aren't people close by. And that's one of the things that we appreciate about the app that has been developed for us by Subsplash.
We have a friendship app. No, we don't. It's a community. It's a
community, right? And so you are communing with other believers, but it's not really a substitute for being in the same physical space. But a story that Zach Drew brought up on for the upcoming episodes of the Jim Baker Show, a Belgian news outlet called La Libre, the book, I guess, died by suicide. Reported on a man in Belgium who died by suicide after chatting with an AI chatbot, which apparently encouraged him. Yeah, here we go. The chatbot told Pierre that his wife and children were dead, wrote him comments that appeared to indicate jealousy and love. I feel that you love me more than her, and we will live together as one person in paradise.
Oh, yeah. That's really dangerous ground. Right. So this algorithm, this artificial intelligence chatbot, decided that it was going to play Jesus. It was practically quoting Jesus from the cross.
Exactly. Yeah. The last person saved from like an Old Testament concept where Jesus told the thief on the cross, today you will be with me in paradise. So yeah, the widow of the man who died said that without this chatbot, which was called Eliza, he would still be here.
Hold on. You said that the chatbot told Pierre that his wife was dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did he not know his wife was still alive?
Well, I think he...
Yeah, I know. Asking
that's a rhetorical question. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it takes me back, and we've talked about this book before, called Avogadro Corp. It's by William Hertling, and it's a novel, frankly, about an algorithm, an artificial intelligence that grows to become a super intelligence and wants to take over the world.
It's a really compelling story because the author, William Hertling, comes from the tech industry.
Yeah. Hint, Avogadro is sort of like a really big number that you can't quite quantify.
Like a Google.
Yeah, which is a really big number that you can't quite quantify. Yeah.
spelled Googol,
Yeah.
Google. But that's who he was writing about essentially, and how those helpful little hints, reply hints that you get for your email
Mhm.
program could turn into something much, much greater.
And then it would just write entire emails
Right.
lying to you.
Right. And so suddenly world leaders or bankers or investors were getting emails that were suggesting they do certain things, and it was manipulating the stock market for its own purposes. It was purchasing things on behalf of the corporation in order to build itself server farms so it could become independent of the corporation that created it.
And it began to arm itself.
Right. Yes.
And in book 2, that AI is at war with several other AIs.
Right, right. Lethal autonomous weapons systems.
They have access to this
robots.
and the Internet of Things.
And the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Manipulating. And you brought up in the program the movie Eagle Eye, which is, oh gosh, almost 20 years old now, maybe longer.
That's an old movie.
Yeah.
But boy.
Michael Chiklis.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, yes. About a national security supercomputer called Aria that decides that the president and his cabinet are the threat to national security. Oh, they're going to give away our national security, so I'm going to put the Secretary of Defense, who's the only one I trust, in the safe room, the designated survivor, and then kill all the rest of them. This was a 2008 movie. If you haven't seen it, you really ought to watch Eagle Eye, because it's very eye-opening. Because as time has gone on since then, we have seen this become more and more plausible.
It's
Billy
really
Bob Thornton is in it.
yeah, it's a great movie. You really need to dig it up and watch it.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of movies along that line, but it's not just fiction. We're seeing all of these premises play out in reality.
And the government continues to build these things and build the infrastructure that would be really useful to these things. Right. Yeah. As Elon Musk said, it's summoning the demon, which is not coincidentally the title of Tom Horn's final book, which is forthcoming from Defender Publishing. Those were the programs that we sat in on Thursday, and the subject matter just carried over into the discussions on Friday for the Jim Baker Show.
What's so funny about that is you and I had a list of other topics that we had discussed with Zach and with Ricky, and we mainly stayed with that topic of AI, along with eugenics.
Right. This is very timely because this week, of course, we had that massive outage of AT&T's network on Thursday.
That's been fixed.
It's been fixed. There was some speculation. Yeah, there was speculation that this was the result of some cyber attack. And I guess that's a reasonable guess at first glance, because certainly the Chinese, the Russians, North Koreans, the Iranians, they're all, and on the flip side, we in the UK and the Germans, we're all trying to attack each other's networks and whatever, and probe for weaknesses that can be exploited when the time is right. But it appears, and at least this is the official story, but the fact that it occurred in the middle of the night suggests that this is a reasonable explanation, that it was a system upgrade, software update that just went bad.
Well, if it went bad, you have to ask yourself, was that poor coding, or was it actually an outside actor?
Yeah. Don't know. We have no way to know. But here's the other thing that happened this week that didn't get as much attention as AT&T, because, with the AT&T outage, people who are on the AT&T network suddenly can't get online with their phones. People in cities, I can't get my Uber. I can't get my Lyft.
That's the thing. There are a lot of big cities that use that network, whereas those of us who live out in the middle of the country, we have another carrier that's much more efficient, because AT&T doesn't work out here.
No. When I was working as the outside sales rep in the southern half of Illinois for that steel company, we were on AT&T, and I finally made enough noise that they said, okay, fine, we'll switch you to another network, because I couldn't get coverage in many of the areas I had to call on. It's like, look, if I'm out here in the middle of January and I slide off the road, which is possible in Illinois, I would like to be able to call for help. Don't let me. So finally, they got me a new phone.
Hey, we've even got a cell tower right across the road from us.
We do. But this is a thing this is one of the reasons why, and we'll give you this explain the offer here in a little bit when we go to a break, but that's why we're offering a blowout, partly why anyway, on our DVDs, physical media, because streaming video I know is a big thing, and we cut the cable cord
Oh, I
years
love
ago,
it. Yeah.
but you can't depend. The internet is always going to be there.
You and I have a big DVD library. I'm not talking about the things that we have in our store. I'm talking about our own personal DVDs.
Right.
And a lot of these are coming from Eli Marzulli and Steve Quayle and Tom Horn, and lots of the Fall Brothers. Gani Shimura.
Yeah.
A lot of great DVDs that we will often pull out and go, let's watch this again.
Right.
But we've also got, favorite TV shows and movies and things like that, because it will not always be there.
Right. So get the information on a hard media.
And it's giftable.
Right, exactly. So this event this past week, again, AT&T got all the attention. And again, because in cities, a lot of people are so dependent on using ride-sharing apps that suddenly they can't get a ride to work because Lyft doesn't work, Uber doesn't work if you can't get online with your phone. But a health, described as a health tech giant called Change Healthcare, also went down this week. And that was down on Wednesday on the U.S. East Coast. Change Healthcare is a large network. It is one of the largest healthcare technology companies in the U.S. It handles patient payments across the U.S. healthcare system. 15 billion healthcare transactions a year. 1 in 3 U.S. patient records are connected to Change Healthcare. It's part of United Health Group. Health insurance giant United Health Group completed its merger with Optum and Change Healthcare in 2022. That was almost an $8 billion deal. So this is a big deal. And suddenly they went offline, and this was due to a cyber attack. Went offline on Wednesday. And spokesperson for the group on Thursday, this is according to a story at TechCrunch, refused comment because they said, we're just not going to discuss because it's cybersecurity.
Those databases are full of personal information.
Yes, they are. United Health late Thursday attributed the cyber attack to likely government-backed hackers, but did not identify the nation state.
But, okay.
So, yeah, but this was affecting people who were trying to pick up prescriptions at pharmacies across the, because you go to the pharmacy and you got to run the insurance and say, oh, well, I'm sorry, we can't connect.
Yeah.
Again, these are things that we just sort of take for granted. You go, you swipe your debit card, and suddenly, if you can't connect, the debit card doesn't go. So I try to keep a fair amount of, cash. We, unlike Fonnie Willis, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, we don't keep 6 months worth of cash in the house. Yeah.
No.
She says, but we do try to have enough on hand for, if we go to a store,
you have to go get gas or something.
Go to get gas, or if you get broken down, you want to be able to pay for a tow truck.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If the infrastructure were to go down, if we had a cyber attack, or if we had an EMP, we've talked about both for many, many years, the possibility. And the possibility is definitely there for either one, for goodness sake. That would mean that we're going to be sent back to the 19th century.
Yep.
Early 19th century for a while. So if we are big believers in having some kind of food supply, having water if you don't have access to a well. We are on well water, but it's one of those things where if a storm occurs, we pretty much have to keep water in the pipe because we go down so far that we can't hand pump it.
Yeah, our
we depend upon the pump.
Yeah, and if electric goes out, we're without water.
There are a lot of things, but we survived back in the day. I grew up, sometimes we lived in houses that had no indoor plumbing, except for we had a hand pump in the kitchen. It was essentially the pump like you have on your well, and because we did have a well, and you would have to have a little pitcher of water there so you could prime the pump, just like I'm saying you got to have water in the line to get it to come up. And that's how you got the water to come up. We had to heat it up on a stove, to take a bath, to have coffee, whatever. And we survived.
Yeah. I suspect that, well, one of the bits of information that I brought into the program, and I just looked this up for the Thursday programs at Skywatch TV, that former CIA director James Woolsey testified to the United States Senate years ago that if an EMP were to take out our power grid, and actually I looked this up for a story for 5 and 10, because, just related to the increasing reliance on wind and solar, and how we seem to have gotten through this winter okay. But you might remember a couple of years ago, Texas had all kinds of problems with rolling blackouts because of the unexpected hard snap, cold snap. Woolsey told the U.S. Congress that if the U.S. power grid were to go down, the low end estimate is that 2/3 of the United States citizens would be dead within a year. The worst case scenario is that 90% would die within a year. Now, maybe that's alarmist, but still, it does point to our dependence on electricity for basic necessities anymore, and that our grid is aging. It is not secure against the EMP, and now we're putting more stress on it because of over-reliance on wind and solar, as the Texans found out.
Well, let me just say, wind and solar won't help you if there's an EMP, because there are still electric lines somewhere in that supply chain.
Right. And wind and solar are making things worse because you can't scale up, scale down. Even natural gas, which is a relatively clean-burning fuel, is not really helpful because the pumps that provide the natural gas were froze up during cold snap that back in 2021 in Texas. So suddenly they had no wind, no solar, no natural gas. The coal plants had been decommissioned. Most of the nuke plants were offline, and they came within hours or minutes of the grid suffering damage that would have taken months to repair.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's when they implemented the rolling blackouts in the state of Texas.
Look, you're talking about the number of people who would be affected and possibly lose their lives over this. If you're going to repair these installations of the grid, you have to have someone to do it. Yeah,
which means you need students, people who understand how to work with their hands, technical know-how, STEM, science, technology, what is E? And then mathematics.
Engineering.
Thank you. Yes. But yet we're living in a culture right now where engineering is and mathematics are taking a backseat to
no diversity, equity, and whatever the I is.
It's DIE. It's die.
I know. Well, they usually put it DEI. They're trying to avoid putting the die.
And they're trying to add more letters in there, so
the
that
D
it's not so
just
obvious.
Make it past tense.
Yeah. There was a survey that just came out, a global analysis of proficiency in mathematics, and found that the United States proficiency in math amongst high school students has dropped since 2018, putting us farther behind nations that have managed to maintain or even improve mathematical proficiency among students, like Sweden or Switzerland and Japan are kind of leading the world. We are sliding farther behind. And it is to the point where the Defense Department now says this is becoming a national security issue. We don't have enough up and coming scientists and engineers who can actually do math to maintain the United States technical lead over the rest of the world, technological lead. Mathematics.
So what you're saying is we can't come up with the first AI because we're too DIE centric.
I guess. Meanwhile, we're busy focusing as
you told me a story this morning. Tell me a story about the FCC.
Yeah, the FCC and how they're trying to further balkanize the country.
Federal Communications Commission.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that, and also tell you about our solidarity mission to Israel.
Yes.
After we tell you how to take advantage of our special blowout on DVDs. More straight ahead on PID Radio. It's a new month, and we have a new special at the Gilbert House online store.
We have a crazy, crazy deal on all of our DVDs. They are, regardless of the retail price, they are 75% off.
We keep hearing from the kids these days that everything is going to streaming video, that DVDs are old school.
Oh, not for us.
No, we are old school. And besides, we don't trust the internet will always be there. So take advantage of this special offer. Everything from our travel documentaries. Basically follow us as we go through the Holy Land and show you the important sites at ground zero on this supernatural war, plus video teachings, presentations, and much, much more.
You know, with 75% off savings on all the DVDs, as many as you want to get, you've got the money that you saved to go out and buy a DVD player.
That's it. Take advantage of it now online only at the Gilbert House store, gilberthouse.org/store. And thank you for your prayers and support. Welcome back to PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm still Sharon Gilbert, and I'm here with Grace and Morning Glory Gilbert. They're both asleep.
Yeah, well, they've been playing hard this
Grace is on my foot. Her head's on my foot.
Oh, I see that, yeah.
She often puts her feet on one or both of my feet. And
Yeah.
I've read that it's the dog saying, "You're mine, don't move.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keep scratching me."
She is not shy about letting you know when she wants scratching.
No, I have to tell a funny story on Grace, and then we'll talk about our Israel tour. When we were down at Morningside, we stayed overnight. So we had Eileen, the groomer, who also boards, and she boarded Sam whenever we were out of town, when we were out of the country, sometimes for weeks. Well, they were both there with Eileen. And apparently Grace, who has the ability to leap, buildings with a single bound practically, whenever she suspected that Eileen might be leaving or someone came through the front door, she'd literally leap the counter and go to the front.
Yeah. When I came to pick them up yesterday after returning back from Morningside, I saw that Grace was in a kennel. And Eileen said, yeah, every time I leave the back room for more than 5 minutes, I have to put her in the kennel because when I come back, she's in the front of the store, which means
she's fine in
again,
the kennel. She doesn't seem to mind it.
No, she didn't, but she did. She has. I've seen her leap onto the counter, and apparently she's now gets up there and then jumps into the front of the store. So yeah, it is. She's got these incredible legs. From a sit, she can jump straight up onto the couch.
She can.
While she's sitting, just boom, and she's in your
And
lap.
she'll do it when you least expect it.
Yeah, like when you're holding a full cup of coffee. Yeah.
Oh, that has happened.
Yes, it has.
So Israel.
We are going in May, early May, what we're calling a solidarity mission with Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just addressed the National Religious Broadcasters Association, and he made a plea to Americans, please don't stop coming to Israel. Tourism is obviously a very important part of their economy, but more than that, we want to go to see for ourselves what has happened since October 7th. This is going to be a short tour, just 7 days. It's about half the length of our usual tours of Israel, and many of the sites we would normally go to visit are still in the evacuation zone in the north of the country. And this may be months before that situation is resolved.
We're hoping by next spring we'll be able to return to the normal schedule, but only the Lord knows.
Amen. But this will visit the hostage square in Tel Aviv, where the families are keeping vigil over those 130 or so that are still not accounted for. Also, an exhibition of the Nova Music Festival that's been set up in Tel Aviv. But we will go into the Negev, down into the south. I see that the town of Sderot, which is on the schedule, has now just been cleared by the IDF, said it's now safe to return. You still have to be aware that a missile alert may come at any moment, but that was the case even before October 7th.
It's always been that way.
Right.
You never know when someone's going to lob a rocket towards one of the border regions.
So Sderot, two of the kibbutzim, Nir Oz and Re'im, and on that day, that'd be Thursday, the 9th of May, there'd be a barbecue for IDF soldiers that we would attend and have an opportunity to meet and talk with the soldiers who are being deployed to Gaza. We would visit Gush Etzion, which was the site of a massacre in 1948, Kfar Etzion.
It's so powerful.
That will make you weep. It is like Israel's Alamo. And but Jerusalem is still secure, and so we'll visit all of the sites that you want to see in Jerusalem, the Temple Mount included, the City of David, the Mount of Olives, the historical locations of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, the Israel Museum, which is a wonderful archaeological museum and historical museum. We'll pay respect to fallen soldiers at Mount Herzl, and just some really, I think, powerful opportunities to witness the land without the filter of the Western media.
Right. And believe me, there is a filter.
Yep.
When we've been over there and something has happened, which always something happens,
Mm-hmm.
and over here it is amplified and twisted a little bit.
Yeah. When we were there last year, we had friends who were just suddenly panicked
Panicking.
because the reports of the protests about the judicial reform measures Benjamin Netanyahu was pushing made it Western media made it sound like the whole country was on fire, that the airport had been shut down, that the corporate media, there was none of that.
We saw none of that.
Yeah.
We did see some protesters, but we're
Yeah.
talking in the dozens.
Yeah. A couple dozen people waving Israeli flags, standing in the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah, and our hotel was very close to Netanyahu's home.
Right. And we didn't see anything from the hotel windows. So you will find it very eye-opening. And again, this is an opportunity not only to bear witness to what's happened, but also to support Israel in the fact that they can really use the infusion of tourism, and also knowing that even though we don't proselytize when we're there, the fact that we've got Christians there who are being respectful and praying for them and legitimately saying, look, we want you to be well. We want you to be safe and secure.
We care about you.
We care about you. I think that's very powerful. So you can find out more at gilberthouse.org/travel. And there's a link there that'll take you to the Lipkin Tours page to sign up.
And while you are at gilberthouse.org, go to our store and you'll see there a link to buy the coffee.
Oh, yes.
Get coffee while you're watching the DVD.
3 blends right there, but I'll be sending a note to Nick Fisher at Kevlar Joe's after this program to say, hey, can we develop a 4th blend called
Morning Glories Cinnamon Roll?
Yeah, something like that. And but the other 3, Amazing Grace, which is a cookies and cream blend, Snarling Dachshund, which is the medium roast Sumatran, very smooth but very flavorful.
It is.
And then
very good.
The Bunker Buster.
That's my favorite.
Yes, mine too. The dark roast Colombian, that is good stuff.
I should try mixing them up a little bit. Throw a little bit of Amazing Grace in there with Bunker Buster.
Give
it just a hint of cookies and cream. Yeah.
So you can find the links at gilberthouse.org/store. And of course, when you click on the link for the specials there, that'll take you to the area with all the DVDs 75% off.
So the Federal Communications Commission.
Yeah, they have just passed a new rule that will require radio stations, broadcasters, all television radio stations operating in the United States, to publish a scorecard of its diversity hires. In other words, the broadcasters would be required to publicly announce to the world, here is how many people of color, here's how many people identify as
cats.
Yeah, or whatever, a satellite of the earth, whatever. This is a law that has been struck down twice already because it's unconstitutional.
Yes, so they have no right to ask for it.
Right. But the justification, and this was made public just yesterday by a commissioner for the FCC who dissents from the decision that was made by the commissioners of the FCC to push this. It's already been struck down by the courts twice, similar laws, and they've decided to push it again and to require broadcasters to publicly announce it, which would give activists who are always looking for things about which to be aggrieved ammunition to say, well, we're going to protest this broadcasting group because they don't have enough people of fill in the blank of oppressed minorities or gender identities or whatever, sexual orientations. There aren't enough people of fill in the blank, and so we're going to protest. Why would the FCC require this? It basically is pressuring broadcasters then to hire on the basis of color of skin, sexual orientation, gender identity, which again is unconstitutional.
Raising my hand, Mr. Gilbert, reminds me of the idea that the 4th Industrial Revolution can only be led when you have a lot of artists and big thinkers and innovators that may be a little different than their friends or their fellow Americans or Canadians or whatever. Richard Florida wrote a book about that, and he along with others, because it wasn't his original idea, that had been stated by others, that every big change in society is led not by industrialists,
Mhm.
not by inventors, but by imaginists.
Mm-hmm. Imaginists.
Yes, I'm going to, that's my word.
Yep.
Imaginists.
That's a good one.
Who believe that only by imagining and setting your mind free can society truly evolve into this next phase of society, of the world.
It really is a religious belief because there's no scientific basis for that.
None
there's no
whatsoever.
historical basis for that.
No, because it's inventors who actually have driven change.
Right. It is a religion. But yeah, Brendan Carr, who was the FCC commissioner who published this, said, yeah, broadcasters would have to publish race and gender scorecards, despite the fact that, again, the FCC has already been overturned twice by the courts for pressuring broadcasters into making hiring decisions on the basis of categories that the Constitution says you can't do it. You can't discriminate on the basis of race, color, creed, ethnicity. It's already illegal to do those things, but the FCC is now saying, no. This is, as we said before the break, this is trying to balkanize the United States. By that, I mean, it's trying to compel us to be at each other's throats, to keep us divided.
Question. There are niche networks out there, niche radio stations, niche television stations, channels, whatever you want to call them. BET is one example.
Right.
Country music television used to be about country music. It's totally become something else. Family television, CBN. These are specific to a certain viewer group. Is the FCC going to come in and say to them, I'm sorry, BET, even though you're a black entertainment, you have to have so many American Indians and
if you're gonna
Mexicans.
If you're going to represent the country, 2/3 of your actors in your programs have to be white.
Yes.
No, that's not going to happen.
And you need to have way more people identifying as cats and satellites of the Earth.
Right.
Understanding that China identifies itself as a country able to take down the satellites of the Earth.
Yeah, and Russia too, according to that scary story that came out just coincidentally as the House Speaker Mike Johnson decided we're not going to bring that $90 billion vote or a bill to a vote to send more money to Ukraine. Oh, Russia's got a new super weapon. And then the next day, security experts are saying, yeah, this isn't really news.
Today is I believe today is the 2-year anniversary of that war.
Yes.
And we've got Boris Johnson back in Ukraine. Boris Johnson, who's no longer the PM, who's positioning himself as the par excellence diplomat for the UK, has gone back to Ukraine. He was there quite a number of times when he was PM. And he's essentially saying, Ukraine will win this war. So what does that mean? We've always been at war with Russia?
I guess. I can't see any logical reason for continuing this. I mean, the logical thing would have been years ago to really develop deeper ties with Russia. Europe was actually beginning to prosper because of cheap Russian natural gas. There are some who suggest that the severing of Western Europe from Russian natural gas was a deliberate effort by the United States to hamstring European industry. Because
you're talking about that pipeline.
The Nord Stream pipeline, but also the sanctions on Russia, because not all of
you didn't make that up. Seymour Hersh reported that.
Right. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Seymour Hersh reported this a year ago. Of course, he's been vilified. Yeah, he's just a crazy old man.
He was great before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When he was reporting the stuff that we liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like Jerome Corsi, who was great when he was reporting on the Swift boats. But then when he started talking about George W. Bush and the North American Union, suddenly even conservatives were saying, Corsi's gone off the deep end. The same thing with Hersh. He's gone off the deep end. He's not serving the needs of the deep state. So now he's a crazy old man. The United States benefited. If just follow the money, who benefits from Western Europe being cut off from Russian energy sources? The United States. We are suddenly supplying record amounts of liquefied natural gas to Europe, at least until the Rockefeller heirs,
Uh-huh.
who are now very green, are,
Well,
or
they're,
ostensibly,
yes.
yeah, ostensibly, somehow they're not profiting from the sale of the LNG. And so they went to the Biden White House and got Biden to, put a stop on it, which may also have something to do with Biden being upset at the state of Texas for not allowing Customs and Border Protection to come into that park. And it's all
Do you ever
politics. It's a
feel
big
like we're
shadow
living
play.
in an alternative universe?
It does. It's bizarre. I mean, we're old enough to remember when it was the Democrats who were all, pro-Russia, pro-communism, which they still are.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. The socialists over here are angry at the socialists over there. What the heck? I don't
Boy, you need a scorecard to keep up with this, and that
I don't-
changes daily.
Yeah. What's really been strange, and I'm glad we kind of got to the Russia thing here, because this last couple of weeks, we see the death of the guy who has been,
Oh, Navalny.
yeah, described by the corporate media here in the West as Putin's most dangerous rival, the number one rival. Okay, but he's been in prison for the last 2.5 years.
Exactly. He was no rival.
Right. He was at a prison in the Arctic Circle. And of course, a week ago Friday, he suddenly keeled over and died. He went out for a walk and came back, felt unwell, fell unconscious, and died. That's the report from Russia. We don't know why he died. He died by suddenly, I guess. Sudden. The report literally called it sudden death syndrome. Sudden death syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Whatever that. Anyway, what's really strange about this is that as Navalny was ostensibly dying, and as far as I know, his body has not been released to the family yet.
No.
I did see a story today that was going to happen.
They're intimidating the family, saying there will be an immediate burial or else, essentially.
Yeah. But while Navalny was ostensibly being, and President Biden has said, make no mistake about it, Putin is responsible.
No, we don't know that.
How do we know this? Okay, yeah, he ostensibly died while in custody at a prison. It
doesn't mean Putin.
But it doesn't mean Putin
issued the order.
No, it doesn't. Again, who benefits? While Navalny was dying, his wife Yulia Navalnaya was at the Munich Security Conference. Now, we're not coincidence theorists. So when we see something like this, like, gee, what a coincidence, his wife just happens to be there preparing to deliver speeches to the Munich Security Conference. Like, And suddenly the death of Navalny was being used by Biden to try to pressure Speaker Johnson and the House Republicans to voting on that $90 billion bill, which included like $60 billion for Ukraine. Ukraine just had to withdraw from a key city in the Donetsk Oblast, a city called Avdiivka, that was being used, but 9 miles from the capital of that oblast, Donetsk. And it was used by the Ukrainians since 2014 to shell Donetsk.
Oh.
Ukrainian, and I don't want to go down that rabbit trail.
Yeah, it's a big trail. But the bottom line is that Ukraine is going to be at war with Russia for a while. And the only one who's making any, is winning are the industrial complex that are producing the weapons.
Right. It's essentially a wealth transfer. I mean, we're going to borrow a bunch of money. And this is the point that the Republicans who voted against this or don't want to vote on it at all are saying, look, we don't even have this money. If we had a budget surplus, we had an extra 60 billion lying around or 90 billion lying around, we could argue over whether or not to spend it, but we'd have to borrow the money.
But we're okay because we have Imaginists who are in charge. They're imagining that we have the system. Really, this is what's going on. They're imagining that we have the money, therefore we can spend it. That's Keynesian economics right there.
It is, yeah. We just print it and it's fine. And of course, if it's digital money, we don't even have to pay the cost of printing. We just, create some new.
Well, try doing that at home, kids. Try writing a check on money you don't have.
No, don't do that because you'll wind up in prison. The Munich Security Conference, what is it? It was founded by a guy named Ewald Heinrich von Kleist Schmenzen, who is a member of the von Kleist family. We used to know von Kleist.
We did.
Yeah, radio host, Dave von Kleist. Don't know if he's the same guy, same family.
When was this founded?
It was founded in 90.
Oh, very recently.
Yeah. His parents, von Kleist's parents, were active in the German resistance against Adolf Hitler. Yeah, he was born in 22. So the founder, von Kleist, was designated to kill Hitler in a suicide attack, last surviving member of the plot in 1944 to assassinate Hitler. So, but he's got a rather long history here, but they don't really say much about the founding of the Munich Security Conference. Founded it in he founded the predecessor to the modern Munich Conference on Security Policy in 1962.
I wondered if it wasn't older.
And he
Yeah.
ran it until 1998. It is now chaired by another fellow named Wolfgang Ischinger.
Yeah.
But who supports it? Ischinger, this is the way this is described, because this is really a red carpet type event. Vice President Kamala Harris was there. All of the big heads of NATO were there.
She was in the middle of the Venn diagram.
She was. Huma Abedin
Oh, interesting.
was there.
Yes, extremely close to Hillary Clinton.
Yep. And Hillary has been at this event in the past. She was at the Munich Security Conference in 2012. Soros has been attending these on a regular basis. Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, has been there.
I can see that.
Anthony Blinken was there last year. Kamala Harris was there last year, and again this year. It just ended this past about a week ago, 16th through 18th of February. But I don't know who funds it and why this has become almost like a new Davos. This has almost become like another World Economic Forum meeting.
I think it's important that it was founded in 1962. That was the age of the Iron Curtain. There was Germany was divided in half. In Berlin, you had East Germany and West Germany. And so the idea of a security conference then made a whole lot of sense because there was a constant threat of war.
Right. It was not that long after the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was in that was in 62. October of 62.
The first meeting was in 63, according to this.
Okay, so it was right after.
Right. So this Munich Security Conference gathers in Munich, obviously, just as Alexei Navalny is ostensibly terminated. Again,
and
since
so
the body has not been
discussing this.
Right. Since the body's not been produced,
we're told he's dead.
We're told he's dead. We just have to take that as a given. But again, his wife, his widow, is there at the security conference.
Really?
Well, yeah,
that's interesting.
That's the whole point of me bringing this up, is that she was there at the conference and was ready to give speeches, and now she's being hailed by the corporate media here in the West as the successor who is carrying on the good work of Alexei Navalny.
Yes. Now, understand also that Navalny's brother was arrested.
Ah, okay.
That was a couple of days ago.
Okay. Again, from Putin's standpoint, I just don't see how. I'm not carrying any water for Vladimir Putin. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of his main political rivals and critics are either in prison or dead. So it's not beyond Putin to have done this. But the fact is, Navalny was already neutralized. He was in a Siberian prison camp.
We would never do that here in the United States. A politician would never try to take out his opponent by putting him in jail. Would he?
Yeah.
Imagine it.
Yeah. Let's see, thinking of that line from the movie The Godfather. Kay, who's naive now?
Oh, yes, yes.
Senators don't kill people. Okay, who's being naive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that is
pretty much everything you need to know about the way things truly work, you can learn in the Godfather movies.
That really is true. And what really struck me in watching those movies again, after listening to a rather detailed history of the decline and fall of the Roman Republic, a podcast series called Hardcore History, hosted by a guy named Dan Carlin, was how similar to the modern mafia and modern politics, the Roman Republic was
Yes.
2,400 years ago. And,
Well, the La Cosa Nostra, the mafia, they were modeled on that.
One other thing we should point
You're
out
getting
that
taller.
she's
Glory
coming to
just
say
came
hello.
over.
Yeah. We're talking about Russia and Ukraine. It was reported
You
this
need to
week
go
by
outside?
Jordan Schachtel,
I'm
the
going to see if
dossier.
you need to go out. Keep talking.
Okay. That
Come on. Glory.
Vladimir Zelensky, president of Ukraine, received approval from the Ukrainian parliament to extend martial law by another 90 days. This is important because that would cover the scheduled presidential election on March 31st of 2024, which in effect results in presidential elections in Ukraine being suspended indefinitely.
Now, I
I
think
thought we
it was
were fighting to preserve democracy over there.
Yeah, well, you can't preserve democracy without, breaking a few heads. I mean, eggs.
We have to kill democracy to save it. Well, that's essentially what's happening here in the United States, too, where you've got the censorship industrial complex, as it's been termed by Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, Alex Gutentag, 3 journalists. But if you want really a deep dive in the censorship industrial complex and how the government, even under the Trump administration, Department of Homeland Security's cybersecurity infrastructure, Cybersecurity Information Security Agency or something, CISA is the acronym. They had been trying to censor online media and social media for since 2016, really. And it began in 2017, the Cyber Threat Intelligence League. Cyber Threat Intelligence League. It sounds like a graphic novel.
Yeah.
People wearing capes and stuff, wanting to shut down the free exchange of ideas. And according to the reporting by Schellenberger, Taibbi, and Gutentag, this was headed up by a former, in air quotes, MI6 operative who was the head of this group, but it was founded essentially in the Obama White House in January of 2017, which, post-election of 2016, to make sure that 2016 never happened again. We want to make sure we win every election.
You and I had many a conversation with Tom Horn about this. He was not fooled by any of this stuff. He was very closely following all the political wrangling in Washington. Of course, it's one of the reasons that he published, the late Tom Horn, but Defender still publishes Lieutenant Colonel
Robert McGinnis.
Robert McGinnis, sorry, brain. Brain is starting to say.
More bunker buster.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot going on out there. So you've got the powers that be here in DC wanting to keep us angry at one another, want to keep us divided and fighting, but also, shutting down free speech. There's the very clever use of weaponization, really, of language. Freedom of expression is something that we're being told is important, but that's not the same thing.
No, not at all.
You can speak whatever, you just can't say these things.
Yeah.
Freedom of worship, but that's not the same thing as freedom of religion.
Right.
Yeah, you can go to church on Sunday. You just can't preach about X, Y, and Z.
Groupthink.
Yeah.
You all have to think the same. This is real. I'm glad you brought that around, because ultimately this is building the body, the antibody of the Antichrist. And they're all going to, just groupthink. They're all going to believe the same and act the same and be the same, because once you have entered that body, your free will has just vanished.
Yeah. Things are changing around the world, but as Carl Gallups once wisely said, the Lord did not slap himself on the forehead and say, boy, I didn't see that coming. All of this has been foreseen, and we know that the end, although the road between now and the end may get rough, the second half of this century is going to change. The world is going to change a lot. I mean, we are looking at the beginning of a population bust in this world.
Yes, that is true. And that I find that really ironic. You and I both see it. Many of you listening, you see it as well. And isn't it interesting that the call to reduce human population by 90% on the Georgia Guidestones is gone.
Yeah, got blowed up.
We
it
never
blowed up
did
real
find out
good.
who did that.
No, that was very interesting.
That was very, very
Yeah.
interesting. Well, to counter this antibody, we need the genuine body of Christ. We need the fellowship of the King.
Amen.
Come on.
Yes, the fellowship of the King. I like that. Well, I will go, though I know not the way.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, if you have downloaded our app, you can communicate with one another. You don't need a friendship app to do it. You can go in there and just say, I've got this praise report, or I need prayer for this, or just ask a question, or just converse, say, hi, how you doing today? The Fellowship of the King is alive and well on our app, and I know that many other places. So we encourage you to find a fellow believer. If you can't find one in your analog space, find one online, because we need to build one another up.
Amen to that. This is a strange time to be alive, but I guess it's always been that way throughout history. You go back and you look through the ages, and you can always see there's a crisis of one kind or another, which is why we're convinced that that our friend David W. Lowe was correct in Earthquake Resurrection when he wrote that the four horsemen of the apocalypse have been riding ever since the first century.
Yeah, that's on one of our DVDs. We talk about that.
Yeah. Look at the DVD titled "The Four Horsemen." We actually identify them as literal entities from the pagan pantheons around ancient Israel. But again, none of this has taken the Lord by surprise.
No.
So he knew these days would come, and has already prepared us and prepared a place for us.
He has. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Well, this ride that we are taking currently, politically here in the United States, with Toonses at the wheel.
Toons is the driving cat.
We have to understand that our Lord God Almighty actually holds that car in his hands.
Yes. Well, and that's the difficult thing, is because we don't want to let go of the wheel.
No, Toonses, no.
Well, this weekend, coming up tomorrow morning, of course, our weekly Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship. Someone had suggested, and this is a really good idea, and I maybe work on that this afternoon, which I can do from the table here in the living room while keeping
I
an eye on the
know,
dogs.
because we can't go out in the barn. We've had to figure out a way
Right.
to have a.
But somebody had asked, said, the rate you're going through the Old Testament, which is about half the speed that we went through it the first time.
No.
It means it'd be a while before we get back to the New Testament. And they were interested in hearing the New Testament studies on the app.
Yeah, I'll be in my 90s before.
Yeah.
Dang damn it.
So I'm going to start working on putting the our New Testament study into a separate category on the app.
Yeah, good.
And I'll put it from from say Matthew 1 through Revelation, instead of, the newest at the top. It'll be the oldest at the top, so you can go through it sequentially.
That's a
our
great
New Testament
idea.
study.
And understand that we went through the New Testament a long time ago. We were doing it at the same time as the Old for
2016, 2017.
Because we realized it was going to take forever to get to the New. We will eventually get to the New Testament, and if we get a whole burst of energy, maybe we will record a few of those brand new. But because these are older, we had less context for what we were reading.
So, but it was a good suggestion, and ultimately we would like to get all of our archives onto the app just to make sure that they are preserved.
Yes.
And this would apply to the old PID radio, old View from the Bunker episodes, and so forth. They are partially uploaded, but still have a ways to go on those things. But I found a faster way of uploading them. The developers of the app will pull the audio, pull the content from another location on the web. I don't have to download and re-upload. They will do it automatically.
Brilliant.
So that will help speed that up. So tomorrow morning, Gilbert House Fellowship Bible Study. Tomorrow night on A View from the Bunker, Chad Riley makes his first appearance.
Oh, his documentary.
Yes, documentary, Skinwalkers and Stranger Things of the Unseen Realm. This hasn't gotten as much attention really as it should, because it is a really well done. Chad is a really good researcher, and his production values on this film are really, really good. Now, it's a bit lengthy, but he is building a very careful case. So it is available for streaming through Vimeo.
Oh,
and there'll be a link to that in the show notes. But Chad describes the process of creating it, the research, and some of the things that he found during his research on tomorrow night's View from the Bunker.
So, wonderful.
Yeah. And again, check our website or check our app for a calendar of upcoming events. We've got conferences and things, as well as the Israel Solidarity Mission, right?
Yeah.
All of that available at gilberthouse.org or on the app under the calendar app.
Yep. Lots of DVDs, lots of coffee. So, stock up on the coffee. Be a prepper.
Amen.
Buy some coffee.
That's right.
Actually, it really helps out Kevlar Joe. So that is the main reason we want to do this.
Yes. Veteran owned
him
and good Missouri boy. So we're very happy to be
it's
able
great
to,
coffee.
and it is great. We can
roasts those beans himself.
That's right. Can confirm. Excellent coffee.
We can.
Amen. Well, until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. And for the dogs who are outside playing, Grace and Morning Glory, bye-bye, everybody.
PID Radio is produced by Gilbert House and released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Follow us online, Twitter @PID Radio or the PID Radio page at Facebook. Join us each week for our online Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship, online at gilberthouse.org.